started shooting for Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom, Howard and I, and it just has gone on from there.
So we go out and work for a few weeks, go home, regroup, rewrite the script based upon what we have, what we hope we can get next time, and go back and shoot again.
To get out there and actually get in the water with the animals. And then when you are in the water for that 1 hour, out of weeks of effort, that 1 hour is spectacular and something you remember the rest of your life.
So how many computers do you end up running with? 3?
Well, I've got 3 now, but it's really because I'm just testing them. I'm trying to make sure these read the same. Normally I just dive with 1. The main reason I'm in this business is because I've, over the years, always sought ways to make my diving more exciting and more enjoyable. And many of the things that I've done in my career, I would never do just to go out and do them. Even something as spectacular as diving with whales. You would never just go out and dive with whales because it takes weeks and weeks and weeks of diving before you get one opportunity, and it's just too hard, it's too time consuming, it's too uncomfortable. But if somebody's paying you, or if you have a specific goal to capture that behavior on film, then you have a reason to put in all the hours and all the discomfort to get out there and actually get in the water with the animals. And then when you are in the water for that 1 hour, out of weeks of effort, that 1 hour is spectacular and something you remember the rest of your life. I think there's a lot of opportunities to get your footage shown to the public. There's a wide variety of film festivals. There's a lot of internet sites that are hungry for content, that they're dying to get content, but they don't have any money to pay for it. So if your goal is to have your material seen by the public, that's eminently doable today. If you want to make money at it, if your goal is to make money, unless you're already established in the business, it's probably not a reasonable thing to strive for, because it takes so long to break in to where you're actually making a profit at it that it's not a practical business venture. If your goal is to do some diving and to enhance your diving by enjoying opportunities to work in unusual places and do some extreme diving, then the film business is a reasonable way to go about it, because the film business gives you an excuse to go out and do those kinds of dives. But making money at it is hard, and if your first priority is to make money, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. But if your goal is to find ways to enhance your diving, to make your diving more exciting and more enjoyable, then making films or taking professional underwater still photographs, writing articles for magazines, provides an excuse for you to get out there and do some things you wouldn't normally do. Diving is just a form of transportation. Once you're down underwater, you've got to ask yourself, okay, now what? What do I do? And taking photographs, making films, writing articles about your experience gives you a purpose for actually being down there and some specific goals while you're diving. And those things enhance your diving. And if you were just doing it for sport, you wouldn't invest the time. That's why sport diving trips like these don't normally go out and do the really unusual things, like diving with squid the other night. The diving with squid is something that sport diving trips don't do. They don't because it's too hard to find the squid. It's always on the windward side of the island. The wind is always blowing hard. It's deeper than most people like to dive, and it happens at night. But because we wanted to capture squid spawning on film, we went to the trouble of making several dives to find out where it was happening. We dived in a strong current, got washed away the first night, didn't even have a chance. The second night we got a bit lucky when the current died off, and everybody got to make one dive. But it took us almost 2 days to get that opportunity. And I'm not sure just normal sport divers would have gone to the trouble or would have tolerated the boat making all that those extra dives and spending that extra time when they could be out sport diving someplace else. In the long run, I think it's worth it, but you need a goal, and the goal is to make film with the animals that you're chasing. When we're shooting video, we rely pretty heavily on white balance. We use tungsten lights a lot of the time, powered by the surface through a cable. Sometimes we use battery-operated lights, and no matter what lights we're using, really the whole thing comes down to balancing the artificial light with the ambient light. And you do that with a mechanism in the camera called white balance. You just tell the camera that this object in front of the camera is white. I use a white piece of plastic, and the camera then makes those colors all fall into place. It's difficult underwater because there's so much blue light underwater that sometimes the camera can't read white because there's so much blue light shining on it. So you need to mix the artificial light with the ambient light to come up with a mix of lights that the camera can read. A lot of the time there's too much of one color down there because there's plankton in the water, or because you're deep and there's just a lot of blue light coming through. And so we'll help the white balance process by dropping filters in front of the camera. And we'll put a red filter in to compensate for the huge amount of blue ambient light that's down there. And then we'll white balance through that red filter. It's much easier than working in actual film, because film you only have a few options for balancing it. With video, you just push the button and the camera makes everything right.